Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a second to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health, Recovery, and Performance Training is an online training platform to help washed-up athletes look, feel, and move better. We offer several different group options catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the Team Builder app. Features include video demonstrations, 24/7 messaging and feedback, and access to the SHRP Edge, a comprehensive guide to upgrade your diet, sleep, and life. Use the code PODCAST in all caps to get 50% off your first month when checking out a program. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go. Hello everyone, and welcome to the SHRP Talk podcast. I'm Colin Snyder, joined by my two brothers. I got Brandon, older brother, Jaden, the youngest. I'm the middle brother. Three washed up athletes, three guys still involved in the world of sports, kind of in our own separate niches. So all very alike in our viewpoints, similar experiences, but also very different experiences and different way that we perceive things. So just kind of exploring that through this podcast and seeing where it takes us. So boys, what's up?
Man, it's great to be here. Great to finally be doing this. So excited about all the things that I can learn from you guys. Again, hopefully this is helpful for the people that choose to listen. So what's up, Jay?
Yeah, what's up? Hopefully it's just planting a seed and seeing where it can grow. See the places it takes, the conversations it leads. And I think it's all good.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we can go a little bit more into the background of kind of what this podcast is and what we hope to go into. But I guess the best way to start it off, people who are listening, I'm sure it'll be quite a few people who know us already, but maybe some people who know, one or two of us and don't know all three of us. And so I guess we can kind of go a little bit into our backgrounds, kind of our journey as athletes, and then, kind of where that has led us into our current careers. So oldest bro, you want to start it off?
Sure. Obviously, we all from Larchwood, small town, born and raised, West Lyon. Dad's been the principal there for a long time. So that's been helpful for all of us, I think. Obviously, he's done a great job kind of putting people in place to, teachers and coaches within the school. West Lyon's known for its football, but other things lately as well, right? Girls basketball made a great run a couple of years ago. Just the entire culture, I think, of West Lyon is super positive. I think when you play a West Lyon team, you know what you're going to get, and it's going to be a team that's in the weight room and tough and well-cultured and all of that. And so very thankful to come from where I do. Obviously, it's
unique, but wouldn't trade it for anything.
Corn-fed for sure. For me personally, my first word was ball, right before mom or dad. So sorry, mom and dad, I love you guys. I've loved sports from the beginning. Basketball, I think, has always been my favorite. It's probably what I've spent the most time doing, and I think that's what's kind of paved the way for success in other sports. A lot of my good friends I've met in the basketball world, it's what I do as a profession now. So, thankful for that game. Obviously for us, we're lucky to come from where we come from, and our parents have taken really good care of us. And so I think we're lucky to have that experience. That's not always the case in the basketball world. For a lot of people, I think that's their ticket, out of their circumstances. So, to have a community center or a school to be able to go to, I think is really lucky and great. Multi-sport athlete, that's something that we'll talk about, right? Played like 5 sports, I think, through
we all did
seasons.
At one point or
another. Right. Golf, track, baseball, basketball, football. When you come from a small school, it is what it is, right? Like if you're good at something, the school needs you to do it. So, and there's a lot of crossover in coaches. So whether it's lifting or.
I like what Kramer always said too. It's not the reason that I played multiple sports, but it's okay, you're playing a sport. It might not be your favorite sport, but it could be your best friend's favorite sport. So you might not love the sport itself, but getting to be with your buddies year round, competing, you can't beat that.
Yeah. So, that's definitely a topic of discussion these days, and I've been in Omaha and Des Moines the last couple of years. And so there's a lot of specialization. If you're not like if you're a hooper and you're not playing year round, you're probably behind, uh, especially in the transfer portal world when they can go get a 22, 23, 24-year-old, basically almost grown man that can hoop and they know their product and how they produced at college level. Times are changing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely something we'll dive into, I think, as we get into this deeper. But like I said, where we came from, it was a great experience for all of us. Like I said, my basketball pursuit led to football pursuit. So walked on at the University of Iowa. Thankful to be able to do that. Knew what I had to do in order for that to work, right? Like scout team, getting fights with Jacob Hillier type of a thing, and show up in special teams next year, find any way on the field I could. Kickoff, couldn't touch Christian McCaffrey in the Rose Bowl. Obviously, no one can still touch him, but like, just knew that was the process I had to go through. Earned a scholarship going into my sophomore year. Started as a sophomore. Tore my ACL the year in spring ball after my sophomore year. So, and I had 4 surgeries following that. So a total of 5 with 3 ACLs. So definitely something that these guys can speak towards, and myself, as far as a PT perspective, a strength and conditioning perspective, a sport perspective, and the balance of all of that. And obviously there were some things that maybe led to that or maybe not. Since then, after college, struggled with like what I wanted to do professionally, had a degree in a double major in strength and condition exercise science and entrepreneurship. Wanted to see if I could step into the coaching world. So Colin was a senior at Northwestern, was thankful for the Northwestern staff for giving me an opportunity there. Helped with the strength conditioning and also football. Was able to see kind of the recruiting world, the X's and O's world of football, and also strength conditioning and how little I knew in that world. Found out I didn't like recruiting. That was the COVID year, which was crazy, right? Got cut short, which was just an experience in and of itself. Led me to an opportunity in Sioux City with the Arena Sports Academy, which I'm very lucky. I know Jeff Carlson was a huge part of that. Justin Cooper reached out to me, and that kind of introed my professional career in the world of youth basketball. Did that for a couple of years with James Marr, kind of got that off the ground, which is great because that's where we came from, right? It was Northwest Iowa. And although Sioux City isn't what I totally connect with, it's cool to give back to where you came from, right? And that's something that I think if we all did that, I think that would be a good thing, right? We all come from somewhere. So if you can give back to where you came from, that's a good thing. Felt like that wasn't my home. So moved to Omaha and worked for Omaha Sports Academy for a couple of years, which was kind of the next step up. Reflecting back, like meeting my fiance at Northwestern was awesome. Literally just got done doing wedding invitation, folding and licking and setting out of that. So it all works out the way it's supposed to. Orange City obviously is close to where we came from, and never thought I would live there ever. There was one place, actually 2 places I never thought I'd live. It'd be Orange City and Sioux City. So lived in both. And now in Des Moines, that's where my fiance is from. I think that's where we'll come home, working for All Iowa Tech now, still in the youth basketball industry. And we have 46 teams right now in this spring and summer, and our teams played 186 games last weekend, and there's a lot of work to do and a lot of people to work with and a lot to learn and how we can do a better job of that. So I think that's maybe not the shortest synopsis of where I've been and what I'm doing now, but it's a good starting point though.
Nice. And I guess we can fill in bits and pieces throughout the way. Obviously, that's a lot, but it also is only a brief snapshot of like your whole journey. And I'm sure we'll uncover that more. But like, I'm biased, but I think you're one of the most special athletes Iowa has seen in recent memory, like all around. Like, for those who don't know, 2-time state champion, started quarterback as a sophomore, basketball started as a freshman, bought the school its first state title as a senior, all state honors, all that. State golfer as a junior, your junior year? Because we went together my freshman year.
Yeah, because you ran track your senior year.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Golf wasn't enough, so you decided to switch to track and go to state that next year. And then baseball, you skipped out your junior year because you wanted to pursue basketball, played AAU, and came back as a senior and hit 500 before you tore your UCL?
750 in 6 games.
750? Oh, I forgot it was only 6. But that's wild. So yeah, again, I'm biased, but super special journey. So for athletes who are listening to this, hopefully they listen to the stuff you have to say, because you did it in not just one, but everything you did. So man, for athletes playing multiple sports, hard enough to get really good at one, but to do all that, that's a cool journey. And did you hit SCSU at all and kind of
No, yeah, good call.
kind of trying for pro day and stuff? I think that's the only thing that maybe was left out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so after all of the knee surgeries, my senior year, I played at South Dakota State. Jaden was there too, which was, again, I appreciate you saying that, which was really cool for, like I said, to be at Northwestern with you, Colin, but also to be at SDSU with Jaden. Once you leave home, it can be hard to stay close to your siblings and all of that. So I think that's something that you can't take away from us. Had a good senior year there. Obviously, we made the semifinals, lost to North Dakota State when they were a powerhouse.
Another
That
ACL.
was the other ACL, which, again, had a concussion the game before that and played 6 days after that.
Significantly.
I knocked him out, but he knocked me out, type of a thing. So, but you at that point in my career, it was I've put all this into it. It's hard to miss a game like that. But yeah, and then crazy me decided to continue. I feel like I learned a lot, right? Coach Parker being the Broyles assistant coach of the year, having all of the information that I had in football, wanted to see if I could use it, right? Knew physically at least at certain points in my career that I could do it, hopefully at a professional level, and trained at Northwestern when I was coaching. So that's, again, part of why I feel really lucky to be able to have had the opportunity to work at Northwestern. Is I would, go to the lifting sessions and teach kids how to hopefully lift, for a couple hours, and then go train myself, and then go watch film, and then go to practice. And I remember in that pursuit, I watched every Niner game for 3 years and drew out every play.
We were roommates during that time. We lived together that year. So.
Yeah. So just I knew placement was super important. I knew that they, playing with George and CJ, the way that they played, and just wanted to if I ever got that opportunity, to be ready for that opportunity. And like I said, COVID happened that year. I was planning on doing a pro day at Iowa, and then planning on doing a pro day at South Dakota State, and both kind of got canceled and that re-put on, and all of those things. Everybody kind of has their COVID experience, and ended up doing a pro day with Sanford, and I got septic about 3 weeks before. So I was spent 4 days in the hospital, about died. Yeah, I told Mom on the way to the hospital that I wasn't going to make it. So pretty hard to perform well after that, a couple of weeks after that. So, but Mom always said, you'll be rewarded for that pursuit, regardless of if it's the reward that you thought it would be. And I know that gave me a lot of peace throughout that entire journey of just you're going through that, you're training at an NAI school on your own, doing your own pro day, and you don't know if you're going to make it or not, or if it's worth it, if it's worth paying Corey Van Wyk, right, to write the program. Of the little money you had, I paid him half of the stipend that I was getting from Northwestern, and just hoped that, and I knew my body probably wasn't able to do that, but I knew that no matter what, and the reward came in a way different way than I thought it would, and it became my profession, right? What I get to do now. And so, and I also don't have to live in the world where I didn't try to do that, right? and there's a lot of peace in that. Like I've maximized trying to do that, and you can't take that away from me, right? So,
Yeah. I think it's cool. Yeah, obviously a lot of this will be about performance, but faith is also a huge part of all of our lives. And so just in that story, it's cool to see all the like connections, kind of like how things went the way they did, and it brought you to Northwestern with me, and then also to SCSU with Jaden, and just everything throughout that, like, struggles and trials like during it, but it's cool to look back like years later and see like, okay, maybe it was all for a purpose, all part of the
yeah.
journey. So it's just cool to reflect on that.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about that before you go, Colin, I just like that was such a critical time in like my faith journey, right? Like that was, and I obviously you live with me, and I don't know what that I did during those times, right? Like some of the stuff you just do, and whether you catch it or not is like one thing, and COVID too. But like that was a time when I used to just read. I used to get up before lifting sessions and just get into the word and journal. Like that was a big journaling phase for me, right? That was like okay, I need to reestablish. Obviously, Iowa City was a hard time for me, right? And I definitely went astray. And so it was like, okay, I'm back in Northwest Iowa, back where my home is, back in a comfortable situation. Like I need to redig my roots, believe in grace, and start to like read and write what and who I am. And that may have been the most important thing that I did. And I still have those journals, and I look forward to rereading them someday and sharing those, but that was probably maybe the most beneficial thing that came from that entire experience. But with that being said, like, let me pass the mic, bro. What's up, Colin?
Oh
Your
boy,
turn.
my turn. All right. Well, I think you started off with the first thing. Your first word was ball, and like you grew up playing with the ball. For me, it was more Power Rangers and
Yeah.
Connects, and I was more. I don't know if nerd's the right word, but like I have more of a creative mind, and like I wasn't as passionate, I guess, compared to the normal person. Still passionate about sports, but not like fully. And maybe that's because you were firstborn and dad wanted to make sure you were a hooper, but like sports weren't like, it wasn't my, like favorite thing in the whole world. And so I was a pretty slow developer, as were a lot of my classmates. So like junior high, didn't win a single football game. Basketball, maybe won a few games because Dustin Brown, 6'3", just did some of the posts, let him go to
Debo.
work.
Shout out Debo.
Downtown.
Yeah, I think there's a game. He had 32 points and he had 30 of them.
Ah.
So it was just a class of late bloomers, and I was among that. Like, I think I entered my freshman year at like 5'6", 5'7", maybe 130 pounds. And so that was kind of a common theme. And growing up, idolizing you, I'd say junior high started to get into the weight room and, get more invested in sports. Like, I have you and a bunch of classmates who are studs to look up to. And so I went to a lot of your basketball tournaments and stuff. And my goal was always, I knew you were going to be part of a state championship team, and I wanted to be part of that. And so that's where, sports started to become more of a love, just through watching you and your classmates. And I don't know if this is true for you, Brandon, but I personally hated the weight room right away. Like,
Dude, I remember Corey Kramer. I hated the weight room. I never,
okay,
because
Jaden did too,
when
so it's just common
I,
for
I
all of us.
when I was just starting, I was in the weight room with Cody R and Trevor Snyders and Nick Thompson and Brennan Terwee, and they were just, bro, they could move some weight, and they did not help me feel good about myself. So I remember putting like 10s and 5s on, or maybe a 25. And I remember Coach Kramer just lifting that bar off my chest, bro. I was like, I'm not doing this. It was a huge insecurity for me. It was terrible. It was terrible. I hated it.
Yeah, I went with Trevor Rosenboom a few times, and just, Like, yeah, I was small, like intimidated, wasn't for me. So I think I did. You remember Insanity, the home workouts DVD? I did that for probably 8 months. So that was my workouts back in junior high.
I remember the first time I power clean was a max out day. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this bar?
That's tough. It's tough. So yeah, I guess, and then I don't know what it is, just encouragement from classmates. Trevor was a big part of that, but then like having you to look up to, you went through that same process. I guess a love of the weight room came through that, and that's what I attribute to any success I had in high school too, as well as the coaches and just the people around me. It's an environment that's hard to fail in with like the people that are around you. So yeah, played 4 to 5 sports as well: football, basketball, golf. I did a little track just to try to get faster. I wasn't actually fast, but baseball, definitely not as successful as an athlete, more of a role player. Basketball, golf, I had some success early on, just kind of stayed steady through that. Football, as I got bigger, developed, kind of came into my own, was part of a state runner-up team as a junior, as a safety that year, and then played both ways that next year with little bro at quarterback. So that was a cool experience.
You had a massive state. Those state games were crazy.
Yeah.
What'd you have? The pick? Did you have 2 picks or 1 pick?
I had a pick in each
against
game.
Against Drew Cook, the Regina.
Yeah, so
I was so proud of you, bro. That was so sick. It was such a cool moment.
The semifinal game, that one was to seal it. They were kind of in the goal line, so picked to seal it. And then state title game was still pretty close. Regina ended up getting us, but
that was a good Regina team that you guys were in a dogfight with. That was a very good. Yeah, they were loaded.
Stat. But yes, that kind of sums up the high school career. Real quick too, like as I mentioned, I got to play with you, Brandon, be part of those state tournament teams, and then also play with Jaden. So like, people have asked me like, does this suck being the middle brother? I'm like, are you crazy? I got to play with both of my brothers like 2 years apart throughout like high school and junior high. Like,
yeah,
I would trade that for the world. So like, that was cool to be able to be part of both of your athletic journeys. And like, Jaden, really good athlete, so was playing everything as a freshman and sophomore. So I got to be on the court and feel a lot with him. So
definitely the freakish of the Snyders, Jaden.
Oh boy. Anyway, that's a
dog right there. That Sibla game your senior year, that little buzzer beater action we had in football, and then you had the crazy pick before that. Just how that whole game went was crazy.
Game.
Right.
Crazy game.
Yeah, those memories were awesome.
And that was in Brandon was at Iowa, so we'd play both ways. Friday night, drive 6 hours to Iowa City, stay in a hotel or someone's house, get there at 3 a.m.
Yeah, Tim was price lining that.
Yeah. Probably an 11 o'clock kickoff, so maybe 3 hours of sleep, a little nap, and then
a couple
tailgates. Right? Oh, dude, unbelievable. I don't care what anyone says. There's very few things that are like tougher on the body than high school football playing both ways. Like, absolutely insane. The fact that the Colorado kid is able to do that, like at that level,
college football is nuts.
It's just absurd. Yeah. But like, so yeah, that was a special few years.
Go to your college career.
Yeah. So I ended up playing.
Started where? Started as what? A safety.
Position changes.
So went to Northwestern College, an AIA school. Came in as a safety at about 190 pounds, and was so unathletic, I ended up finding myself with my hand in the dirt by my junior year, forced to put on, when it was all said and done, about 50 pounds. Got up to about 240. So yeah, came in as a safety, played a bunch of special teams as a freshman and sophomore, and then spring ball before that, short on some D linemen, and I was pretty strong for my size. I was probably about 205. I was playing outside backer by then. He's like, Colin, we need some bodies. You want to put your hand in the dirt? I was like, man, I really didn't want to do it. Like, I like almost wanted to quit.
Talk
Like,
about before we move on, talk about like that process of, I think that's an underrated process of like coaches are wanting you to change position. That happens a lot, right? Like where people are really skilled in high school and then they're asked to put on weight, and just the thought process for you of having to change positions like that. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I think it's as hard as it is, like, just being unselfish, especially in a sport like football. Like, you're playing for 10 other guys. I feel like maybe basketball, or depending on position in football, it's easier to be a little more selfish. But again, just the people around me, it was never a second thought to like fight that. So it's like, okay, this is the best move for the team, then I'll do what I got to do. And it ended up being great for me. I probably, with the dudes we had at linebacker, Tanner Mahacek, Sean Powell, like some absolute killers throughout my career at linebacker. Like I never, and safety, like I never would have saw the field. And so again, it's cool to look back and be like, okay, that position change is what got me on the field. And so ended up getting to like 225 my junior year, played a ton, and then started as a senior. Those 2 years, we were quarterfinalists and semifinalists. So some good teams, and played with some great dudes for some great coaches. You know, high school was hard. You know, with a brother going to Iowa, like, okay, those are the footsteps I want to go, or like that's the career path I want for myself. But like, I just wasn't that guy. But like Northwestern was perfect for me. I would not have done well in Iowa City. Close to home, bunch of local guys I already knew, great coaches, the faith aspect, the academic aspect. Like it was such a great fit for me, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. And so that was a great experience. That love of the weight room and training was still there. In high school, it was kind of just experimenting and do what other guys told me to do. But then it just kind of got into an exploration. Okay, I love learning about the science behind this, and like, how do I optimize, especially, you know, not maybe having that high of a ceiling as you two, like, okay, how do I maximize the ceiling? And
There's
so
Jaden.
exactly. Colin,
He
James.
man. He man.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I think that's where that love kind of came from. And so was also an exercise science major, was a big part of the strength and conditioning staff there. Like interned as a sophomore and spent 5 hours on the floor a week from my sophomore to senior year. So a ton of time on the floor. There's people in this field throughout the country will say undergrad didn't prepare me at all for strength and conditioning, but I felt so well prepared through that
Yeah.
program. And so I went through that, knew I wanted to get into strength and conditioning, and then ended up, and that my senior year was COVID. And so that's when it's time to start applying for jobs. And luckily, Northwestern opened up a grad assistant position. So did that for 2 years, got my master's in exercise science, worked with like 4 to 5 sports at Northwestern. To get into this field, you have to intern a lot. So, man, I've been all over the country. Started in Sioux Falls at OI Performance, more of a private sector. Went to the University of Kentucky for a summer to work with the football team there. Went out to Elon, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. Nick
Shout out Nick
DeMarco,
DeMarco. Dog.
another strange, not really strange, but connection between us. Nick was at Iowa when Brandon was there, and then out at Elon,
Dog.
went to intern with him and Jordan Newsma and some other great coaches, and learned a ton through there. And just the connections through that have kind of led me to my career, where I started part-time at Louisiana Tech for a month. I still forget about that sometimes.
I forget about that too. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right
Didn't
now.
have any. That was the summer of 22. Didn't really have anything, so I just accepted a part-time job. And the day I get there, he says to me, "Hey, I know it's a part-time position. If you start getting interviews or anything, just let me know." That same day, I heard from like our connections had like 2 or 3 schools interviews lined up. So within a month, I was at Arkansas State, where I spent last year working with baseball, women's basketball, and women's golf. Traveled with women's basketball and baseball. So
Nuts.
part of the Sun Belt Conference. So got to see a lot of the southern and southeast states, which is very cool as someone who didn't leave Iowa a ton growing up. And so that was a great learning experience. And then currently am at University of Texas at Arlington, down in the DFW area, working strictly with women's basketball. So just got 15 athletes. Yeah, I went from basically my whole career having like hundreds of athletes to now only having 15. And so that's been cool to hone in on just kind of one group. The WAC is a lot of South and Southwestern teams, so got to see another part of the country this past year, which very cool. And so, yep, still in that role in off-season mode right now. So, did I leave anything out?
No, but
No.
probably one of the coolest, most statistical and well thought out growth progressions of a human being that I've ever seen in my life. Like, this dude tracked, Colin, you can answer this better than I can. When did you start tracking your weight, and do you still track it?
Oh boy, I can pull it up right now if you want.
I would love for you to answer that question.
Junior year summer.
Junior year of high school, correct?
You know, it's funny. It was 7-on-7 Okoboji camp, which was legendary, by the way.
LeVar Woods type.
Yeah.
Shout out LeVar Woods. Bring the Okoboji camp back, Coach Woods. Come on, man.
And that was the day you left for Iowa. And I was like, all right, it's my time now. So it started with the weight. I was probably like 167 at that time. And so
167.
Yep. And so I've been tracking it ever since then. Still do.
Still do. That's what I thought. What was the peak?
Just for anyone out there, just weigh yourself every day. Take the average for the week. Whether you're trying to gain, maintain, or lose, like, you always know where you're at. It's that easy. You don't know where you're at if you don't keep track. So trying to find it.
Your year, you would have been 2016. No, 2015.
2014, because I graduated
2014.
in 2016.
Yeah, 2014. Been tracking his weight since 2014. That's 10 years of tracking.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about. That's what, look at this.
Got my junior to senior year.
Yep. Yeah.
I hit a goal, so a bunch of exclamation mark. I hit 190. Senior to freshman year of football.
Con, go faster. It's 10 years.
Freshman to sophomore year.
10 years. 10 years. Keep going. Remember, he moved to the D line from safety.
Peaked at 238. And then
238.
Post football, I went from 236 in November to 210 in March. So 4 months.
Dope.
And then Elon burned about 15 more pounds.
Yeah.
On some prowlers around in the heat. So,
well, Jane, you can add to this too before you get going, but then you can go into your story. But dude, one of the most, like, you get out what you put in type of stories. And there's many times, like, if I've thought about your journey, Colin, and wish I had the discipline you had, man.
Appreciate it, dog.
Yeah, I mean, and just the weight thing is just a testament to how, like, analytical and almost precise that you are as a human, and you put that precision into how you train and how you live on a daily basis, because you are trying to maximize what you have. And I know
I'm still trying to maximize.
Exactly. Like, we're all different abilities, and we shouldn't be discouraged just because we may not be as blessed as another. And you're the living testament to trying to get the most you can. And it's awesome.
Oh yeah. Reach your ceiling. That's all you can do. God's gift
or
to
your
you
bridge.
Your talent, your gift to God. What you do with that. All right, Jay.
Alrighty. Oh,
the greatest of all of us. He-Man.
My beginning is similar to both of those two. Played basically every sport that I could. Hated the weight room growing up, but fortunate to have Colin's group be so close to my own. And same with Trevor Roseboom pulling me in. that peer pressure thing, it just nags at you every time they say it. Every morning they ask, "Are you in there?" And you have to say no. You have to be honest. And over time, it eventually gets to you to the point where I'd rather go to the weight room than be asked if I went and say no. So I can't be more grateful for you and your class pushing not just me, but my own class and the classes below, because that's something that Westline is so good about, is reaching down to those younger classes and bringing them up with. And that's why the tradition just keeps going on and on and on. And you see the growth, and it starts in the weight room. And that's why I feel like Westline is so special. But anyways, got through, basically didn't do much outside of just play sports in junior high. Finally got into the weight room my freshman year. Was fortunate to see all of Brandon's classes' success. So saw the blueprint, saw the foundation. Was not able to play with Brandon in high school. Was 1 year off, but was very fortunate to play with Colin.
Baseball. Didn't you play a little bit baseball?
But yeah, I mean, he played 6 games. So
yeah, he's probably gone by then.
Shout out to SDSU though. That was the cooler part, I think.
Yeah.
Not to interject, but like to be the 5-year difference and to be with you at South Dakota State and have that experience together was really cool for us to compete together one time. So
yeah.
But
anyway, to keep going. Yeah, I also got to see Colin's class and where they were and where they got to and the work that they put in. Because they were underdeveloped in junior high and they worked their butt off to get to a place where they were successful in high school. And I was blessed to be part of that journey. So I got to see the footsteps from Brandon and see the work ethic alongside that with Colin and in real life in the weight room. And it really, I feel like, propelled our class to perform at a high level and just be good people along the way and work hard. Yeah, like Colin, like Brandon, played 5 different sports in high school, was blessed to go to state in football and track and golf. Did not make it in baseball or basketball. But
close for both, right?
Yeah, close.
The West
lost
couple dingers.
Lost the state champs.
Couple dingers.
Hit a couple dingers.
Couple dingers. Almost to go to state, I'm pretty honest.
Yeah, and then was fortunate to be recruited out of high school and have some options to go play football. Got recruited by SDSU, UNI, USD, and thought about Iowa and ended up going with SDSU to be with Brandon. That was a huge factor. Just playing with a brother, it's something that I cherish, and it's worth more than my own success. So decided to go to SDSU for that year and learn so much being around Brandon, seeing his work ethic, seeing him around people, and also working in one sport, having an off season for once, seeing what that is like, because we're in season all the time and it's just nonstop grind. So that SDSU year really opened my eyes to who I am as an athlete and what I wanted to continue doing. Decided to
turn into a power lifter with those squats. Squat everything.
Yeah. The retro program had squatting a lot.
What was your best one? Your best day? I think I was there for one of them. I went and observed once.
Yeah, I did. It was like 450 for 5.
Blood running down his nose.
Yeah, a couple bloody noses here and there. Too much blood rushing to the brain. But so yeah, just did that for about a year and a half. Decided to try baseball out of South Dakota State for a semester. Didn't go great just because take a year off of a sport and try to play at a D1 level. It's especially baseball.
Bro, stop. You literally switched from Division I football to Division I baseball seamlessly, and we're fully capable of doing it. And obviously your journey it wasn't what you were supposed to be doing. It was, right, because it's what you did, but like it wasn't your path, and it led you to the path that you were supposed to go on. But nobody that I know, which is from Division I football to Division I baseball.
I don't think I'll try a different sport.
Yeah, I'm a little bored. Well, it was too easy.
Yeah,
it is. Anyway,
after that semester of baseball, really just had to reflect and just think about what I wanted to be as an athlete. And Northwestern offered the ability to play multiple sports, and Colin and Brandon were both at Northwestern, so I decided to explore that option. Actually tried playing baseball, football, and golf, but the golf part didn't work out. But anyways, I decided to play baseball and football. Was fortunate to play a little bit of that spring season before COVID hit, and then go on to play 3 seasons as a starter at second base at Northwestern, and then played 4 years, or was it 3, at Northwestern for football.
Yeah.
And played with a bunch of West Line guys, fortunately. I think there was like 6 or 7 my senior year, and was blessed to be a part of a national championship team and go on a special run there with a bunch of guys. And it was such a blast of a year, just playing with so many guys that you can trust. It was so easy. It's so hard to just describe how the practices and the season was on a daily basis, but it just seems so seamless. Just trusting everybody's roll around you. And it just seems like, especially at the safety position, I could just run around with my hair on fire. And even if I did make a mistake, I knew I had 10 other guys around me that were capable of stepping up and making a play. So it was a blessing, and just had a great time. So that was kind of my college career, and then was blessed to be accepted at a doctor of physical therapy program at the University of Iowa, which I'm currently my first year in. Yeah. That is kind of to present.
We're 2 PT school in the country.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks,
Hawks.
baby.
I don't know, Colin, do you have anything to add? I mean, he definitely undersold himself, because I think, a lot of the time.
Just another incredible athlete in the state of Iowa. Yeah, man. Just special kid. And it's not like is natural either. Like, that work ethic was there. Like you said, he didn't love the weight room right away. Like, it went from, I would text you, hey, you come to the weight room, and you'd lock your door, to
Yeah.
it turned into, I went without you and you were pissed off. Like, why did you go without me? Like,
Yeah.
that switch flipped. And so a combination of natural ability plus that work ethic, that's pretty tough to beat. So pretty special high school and college career for you. Didn't get that state championship, but you got that natty.
You got that
That's
natty,
pretty
though.
sweet.
And
That's pretty sweet prize. So I guess we can kind of move on a little bit, with where we're at currently, hopefully kind of what this podcast is about. We're all obviously have been heavily involved in the sports world and still kind of are. Brandon, you've been a sport coach for football, basketball. For me, I'm on the sports performance side, and we got Jaden as a PT, the rehab and injury prevention world. So it's kind of cool once again to, just look at, the similarities in our journeys, but also our different interests and kind of where we're at, and just hopefully kind of through this podcast and our conversations amongst us or with our guests, just kind of figuring out kind of what peak performance looks like, whether that's as an athlete or, whether that's as a former athlete, trying to navigate, your health and fitness in an era where you don't have people telling you what to do all the time. Like,
yeah,
it's a shift for sure. And like, some people adjust better than others. So hopefully through our conversations, we can help people with that. Me and Jaden recently started an online personal training business. We talked about it, I think, last summer, just kind of some stuff in the background. He had some experience as a personal trainer in college, and talked about maybe shifting it to online. And I had seen the other coaches in this space do that, so I was all in. And so kind of built that out through the back half of last year and launched in January. So 3-4 months into it now, working with people online. So that's been cool, and hopefully this can be kind of a platform. We share our thoughts, on social media or through that platform, but it's just a brief snippet. So hopefully can get more in depth on our, training philosophies and lifestyle strategies, nutrition strategies.
So, like, if people are curious about that type of a thing, someone that listens to the podcast or an athlete that's in our program, or like, what's the best way for them to figure that kind of a thing out? Is there a good way to reach out to you guys, or to get more information, or what, just to point them in the right direction? What should they do?
Yeah, I mean, just reach out. I mean, we're on every social media, so either our personal ones or we have our account pages. We also have links in our bios that have some more information on each program, and you kind of figure out which one is right for you. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Just DM, social media. Just and for those who don't know, I mean, it's called SHRP Talk. Our business
I
is
was
Sharp
gonna
Training.
say,
Snyder Health Recovery and Performance.
there you go. That's what I was
Name's
trying to get out of you, big bro.
pronounced Sharp. So
Yeah.
yeah,
SHRP.
it's been cool to kind of grow it so far, and excited to see where it goes.
You've done a great job. I guess maybe to end kind of the conversation, I think we're kind of at a good stopping point. I kind of came in with just some questions I wanted to ask you guys. Just Caitlin Clark just got drafted #1 overall WNBA, right? She's an all Iowa Tech girl. I'm lucky to work with all Iowa Tech. There's a ball handling aspect. There's a conditioning aspect. There's all these things. There's private trainers. There's, the private training. There's the Shane Hennon types, with, 500,000 followers on Instagram and 800,000 or whatever on TikTok, and and their school, and there's your school programs, I guess. Just to begin the conversation, I guess, and maybe even help me. What are kids supposed to do? What are parents supposed to do? What's, maybe take it from two perspectives. I don't think we're talking to the college athlete as much in this conversation, I think. And we can, right? Like, that's not something that we're against doing, but maybe for a middle school or high elementary kid, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grader, and then maybe a high school kid, what does that look like? When are they supposed to lift? How much are they supposed to lift? It just seems like, obviously, obesity is a thing in the United States, right? And the excess of food. But I feel like the majority of the athletes I'm working with don't eat enough calories to maintain the workload that's expected of them between a morning lifting session, school for 7 to 8 hours of the day, and then they go to the gym after, and then their AAU practice and their AAU tournaments on the weekend, or multiple sports, or playing baseball and basketball. It's a lot, man. I guess maybe that's a decent way to end the conversation and begin the next one. So.
Yeah, I mean, and you talked about how much of the skill work goes into that to be that great on that kind of level. But I think if you overinvest in that and don't focus on the other areas of your life, like if you're just focusing on, the 2 to 3 hours you're on the court or in the weight room, and you neglect the other 21 to 22 hours, like, you're not going to last. Like, your body's going to break down, your mental health probably going to break down. There's so many other things you have to take care of outside of, the skill itself. Sleep, how you're fueling, your recovery habits. It's to get to that level. Like, if you have dreams of, reaching that, like, Caitlin Clark-esque status, like, it's a full-time job, and like, that doesn't mean you can't have fun and enjoy yourself, but like, it's bigger than the 2 to 3 hours you're playing your sport. Like, you have every single decision you make on and off the court, like, it's going to have an effect, like a compounding effect, like years of consistent habits. If they're good habits, they make you. If they're bad habits, you're going to break at some point, unless you're truly just special and are able to rise above all that. But that's in the 0.001%. Like, people, that's probably not the people we're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a fine balance. I think you take a wider view of what a weekly schedule looks like. I think you put in your priority, you find time for that priority. And I think the stuff in the weight room, the stuff outside, it should only be an additive. I don't think you should overstress the system to a point where this volume is, you're just throwing in 4 days a week after doing nothing. I think you find a program that you can build in slowly over time. And I think you assess what your goals are for that program. Because a lot of training, especially at the high school level, it's Olympic weightlifting. It's just trying to get strong. I think the more you specialize your training and have a purpose for the volume and have a purpose for what you're training for and what your goals are, I think the training can only be an additive towards the volume that they are asking for. And if it's getting to a point where the basketball volume and the training volume don't coincide with each other, I think that's when you get to a point where you look at the basketball volume and you ask if it's sustainable, and just see different avenues. But I think there's merit in progressing volume over time. I think our bodies are highly adaptable. And I think you look at people that are like Caitlin Clark, like she's done this for how many years end over end. And I don't know if she's been doing the same thing year over year. I'm guessing she's added more and more over time. And I'm guessing the weight room's been a part of that. So I think you just continually monitor low volume from a wide view and really assess what your goals are. And I feel like there's a plan for everybody that will allow them to stay healthy while also progressing.
Yeah, I worry about too, like in this area where it seems like athletes are specializing so early, like there's so much pressure from parents to be great. And so like so much time is invested in like camps and stuff, and maybe the kid doesn't even like it. And it's like
Yeah.
It has to be a balance between training to be great at the sport while also still being a kid, still having time to have fun and play with your friends and just realize it's not that serious.
But
Like you
at the
see
same
Caitlin
time,
Clark play, she's having fun. Like,
yeah. But I learned this from our sixth grade coach, the Anthony Sanders. He said, if you don't want to be great at basketball, then spend your time doing something else that you can be great at. I think we were all made to be great at something, you know.
absolutely.
And if basketball isn't that, then don't waste your time floating through that system, you know. And yeah, you can have fun doing that, but you need to make those expectations clear to your coach, because I'm sure your coach, if you're in the right program, has expectations for you to be great and is going to hold you to that standard, or they're not a great coach, right? And can't do that. And thankfully, like a lot of the coaches that I'm around are able to do that. And so I guess my ploy to a lot of the kids that play for Attack is like, if you don't want to be great at basketball, then you shouldn't do this. We're not for everybody, right? But if you want to be great at basketball, then we're going to hold you to a high standard. And so the point, I guess, is like, find something that you truly want to be great at. And if basketball is not that, then don't waste your time doing it. Spend that time, right? There's a friend component to it, but also there's like the component that like we were all made to be great at something, right? Spend your time figuring out what that is and doing that, right? And being great at that. And like, that's where you'll find that Caitlin Clark-esque joy, right? Of like, okay. And it's hard because that's, you know, me coming from a perspective of like being a profession, like being in the profession of, you know, basketball, but also being a multi-sport athlete, and like both of those worlds kind of combining at once, right? Like I didn't play college basketball because I was doing all of the different things, right? And like also realizing that if people are going to invest in the game of basketball and they want to play college basketball, then that almost needs to be a full-time thing that they invest in. And it's a really hard balance, you know, when you're trying to do it and find enjoyment in it, but also like, if you really want to turn that dream into a goal, then this is what it takes of you.
It's also really hard to think about that as a kid, like the weight of
Right.
that decision, like that's a lot of pressure. And like, yeah, man, maybe they're not even thinking about that. Maybe they just love the game, but aren't thinking ahead to like, okay, do I want to make a career out of this? Do I want to play this in college? Like, it's hard. Like, at what age do you have to make that decision? Like, that's tough.
And in what environment do you make that decision, right? Like,
Yeah.
Is it the AAU experience where you make that decision? Okay, maybe this isn't the right AAU program for me, or Or should our AU program adjust to being welcoming to all of the different kinds of motivations for basketball, right? Like, and all the different pursuits and mindsets of kids, right? Of kids that are 10 to 15 to 18 years old. So
I think
that's why
go ahead.
It's such a blessing to be part of the community that we were part of, because we got to experience a lot of different sports and find out what we did like and what we didn't like. And it wasn't our parents being like, oh, you're going to play football and you're going to like it. Like,
yeah,
we got to choose what we wanted to do. Like, our passion was decided by like what we wanted to be and what we wanted to play. Like, we were put in an environment with some sports we didn't love. Like, there were definitely sports that I did not play at times, but it was the people around you. And so putting these decisions on a kid based on one sport that they're playing and that they've played their whole life, it's like, we got to be a little bit more relaxed and like listen to what these kids are saying. Like, let these kids be kids.
Yeah, I think it just has to be almost like a funnel as you get older. Like, start young, expose yourself to a bunch of different sports, different environments, and see what few loves kind of stick out, and then just narrow your focus into that one or two or three things, like whatever that is for you.
It's not like if they don't decide, they're doomed to fail. Like, Brandon was destined for a career in the league if he didn't tear his ACL 3 times. Like, you got time to be the best thing to be in the sports that you play while being additive and help you be stronger in areas that you didn't know that you needed. So it's like, specializing at such an early age, yeah, it can be beneficial, but it can be super detrimental as well. So it's just being smart, I think.
But I also come from the perspective of like, you know, if you don't invest in that sport at an early age in today's world,
it's a different era.
You might not make it, right? Like,
it's a different era than
the transfer portal era. Like, it's almost rare to see college coaches at high school games or AAU events now, because they know they can get a 22 or 23-year-old kid, and it's hard to balance. I guess the conversation I'm opening is finding the balance between each person and their individual pursuit and what they're capable of doing and all of those things, right? Like, okay, I know, like, Juventus documentary on Netflix, it's about European soccer and how they basically, kids who love soccer and know they're good at soccer are thrown into that environment where they're training with professionals at an early age, at a 3rd to 4th grade. And that's what, and if they want to tap into something else at some point, that's fine, but at least they're not missing that time. And they're learning from professionals. And it's like, you know, is that something that we should accept in the United States more so or not? And it's hard.
I feel like that comes down to your environment, because in that part of the country, like, it's all soccer. Like,
it's all soccer, right?
It's your environment. So do you truly love it, or is that all there is and there's nothing else to love? So like, in this part of the country, like, there's so much
potentially
other
be good at.
opportunity. Like,
yeah.
And
is that good or bad? You know, should there be an avenue for someone that only loves basketball? You know what I mean? I guess these are some of the questions I have.
Yeah, there's no shortage of choices, but it's overwhelming. It's a blessing and a curse.
Exactly.
So interesting times, man.
Yep. Yeah, man, it's been a joy. This has been great. I'm excited for these conversations.
For sure. Well, pretty good first episode, a little bit about who we are and what we hope to talk about going forward. So hope if you're still listening to this that you enjoyed our conversation, a little bit about who we are, and hopefully you keep coming back for more. So, all right, boys. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.